Hey guys, what's up? This is White Boy for the win, and welcome back to Why Mega Evolved. Now, earlier this week we talked about Mega Politoed, and today we're going to be talking about Mega Drapion. But before we get started, let me just give you guys a brief explanation on what this series is about. Now, every week we'll be picking two Pokemon that either need a Mega Evolution, deserve a Mega Evolution, or want a Mega Evolution for. Now, this is based off my opinion alone, and no one else's. Now, if you guys do not like my opinion, then please post your opinions in the comment section down below about what would you keep, what would you change, and etc. And at the end of every video, we'll be telling you guys which Pokemon we're going to be talking about the following day. So with that said, here is Mega Drapion. Now, before I actually continue with the video, sorry about that. If I do sound a little sluggish, it's just because I woke up literally like an hour ago, and I am by any means no morning person, but there's literally no one in my house right now because my parents had to go to an eye doctor's appointment with my sister's at school, so I'm pretty much home alone right now, and like I had no better time to pretty much record than now, because this is pretty much going to be like my only time during this weekend that I can actually record, hence I'm breaking the fourth wall. I'm actually when I'm recording this, but nonetheless, like I said, if I do sound a little sluggish, I do apologize. But once again, Drapion in my opinion is probably one of the best 4th gen Pokemon out there, and I'm not just saying that just because like I say that for all the Pokemon. I honestly truly think that Drapion is one of the best 4th gen Pokemon, and in my opinion it's literally top 5 on my list for favorite 4th gen Pokemon. Now I sound like a broken record, but once again, not only that, it's because it's one of my favorite 4th gen Pokemon. The one thing I also really like about this thing is that it only has one weakness, and that weakness is ground. Now when it comes to competitive play, this thing does amazing. So you, because this thing gets access to Swords Dance, and if I'm not mistaken, this thing gets access to Agility, and I don't know if people run like Agility on Drapion as like a common move, but I do know that people run Swords Dance and then they pretty much run 3 offensive attacking moves, and this thing can literally just sweep your opponent's entire team, because with a +2 from 1 Swords Dance, this thing is literally, I wouldn't say unstoppable, but in sense, this thing could do a lot of damage. This thing is just a powerhouse. It gets access to Sniper, Battle Armor, Keen Eye for its abilities. I mean, once again, this thing can actually do work when it comes to competitive play. Now, does it actually need a Mega Evolution? In sense, no, but in sense, yes. Like, I would like to see this thing get better stats, if that makes sense. So an Mega Evolution actually would help it, but when it comes down to it, does it actually do well in competitive play? And the answer is pretty much in your opinion. It's either yes or no, so I would say 50-50 for the most part for it. But when it comes to my opinion, I think this thing does amazing when it comes to competitive play. But once again, like I said, it's not that it honestly necessarily needs a Mega Evolution, but I would like to see this thing get get better base stats, so a Mega Evolution wouldn't really hurt. So as you can tell from what I've done to its stats, I did increase everything but decreased its special attack by 10 points. Now the reason why I've done that was because even though I think like Drapion's base stats are somewhat balanced, I mean, it wouldn't really hurt to actually take 10 points away from its special attack and put it into something else, because to be completely honest, like, I guess you would say that there are some stats that you probably would think that should get a little bit more of an increase. So I think that getting 10 points away from its special attack would actually do it some good, so then I actually have 110 points rather than the base 100 points that a normal Mega would get to distribute into its stats. But with all that, for its physical attack, I increased it from base 90 to base 130. Now at first, I actually increased it to base 125. Don't ask me why, but I redid the whole thing and pretty much put the last 5, or I want to say the last 5, but I switched around one of its stats a little bit and put 5 into its physical attack, because Drapion with base 130 physical attack, I think this Pokemon is just going to be a monstrous powerhouse, because like it does get access to a variety of moves, so that with base 130 physical attack, this thing is just going to be either doing a fuck ton of damage, or it's pretty much going to be knocking out your opponent's Pokemon. But once again, this thing gets access to the Fang, the Elemental Fang, Thunder Fang, Ice Fang, Fire Fang. This thing gets access to Knockoff, in my opinion, top 2 best moves in the game. It gets access to Bug Bite, so you can take care of Psychic types, you can take care of Bug types. This thing gets access to Crunch, which is a very good stab type move for Drapion because this thing is part dark. It gets access to Cross Poison. Not many people run it, but it lands critical hits easier. But I understand why people would run it just because of its sniper ability before Mega Evolving. I mean, like I said, this thing gets access to a variety of like very good physical attacks that can actually benefit this Pokemon. And with base 130 physical attack, and plus with this thing getting access to Sword Stance, I can see this thing being just a monstrous Pokemon, probably in OU, maybe BL, but like between OU and UU, I can actually see Mega Drapion ending up. Now, when it comes to what tier Drapion is, I honestly do not know. So, like, if it's in OU, great, then it's Mega Evolution. I can see it staying in OU. If it's in UU, great. I can see this thing being in UU as well. But like at the same time, I can see him in both tiers, so I think BL will be a pretty good placement for Mega Drapion with the stats I've given it. But once again, with base 130 physical attack plus this thing getting access to Sword Dance and not to mention Hone Claws, this thing I could feel like just doing a fuck ton of damage. This thing is going to be doing a monstrous amount of damage, like I said. So 130 physical attack, I think is pretty decent. Now for its physical defense, I increase it from base 110 to base 140. Now surprisingly enough, when it comes down to Drapion, you would think that its physical attack would probably be the highest, because if you guys used to watch, if I'm not mistaken, the Diamond and Pearl anime, like when it was all airing, it was all new, one of the characters had a Drapion. I can't remember who exactly had a Drapion, but that thing was just doing a fuck ton of damage. That thing was just pretty much just going on a ballistic rage of just endless fury of damage, and it looked like that thing had like base, or I wouldn't say it looked like it, but it felt like that thing should have had like base 150 physical attack rather than like a really high physical defense. But once again, like I said, you would think that its physical attack would be higher than its physical defense, but that actually really isn't all that bad, because it does get access to Sword Dance. This thing gets access to Hone Claws, so if you want to increase your physical attack, it is possible. But when it comes down to its physical defense, I think base 140 is actually a pretty decent defensive stat for a Pokemon like Drapion because of its highest stat being at base 110, because this thing will be able to eat up, I wouldn't say eat up, but it will take pretty much Earthquakes a little bit better, I would say. Not too much, because I can probably see this thing being like a Jolly Nature, max attack, max speed. But once again, this thing does have natural bulk behind it somewhat, so with base 140 physical defense, I can see this thing actually living maybe an Earthquake or two, just depends. It probably won't take it as well, but it will be able to take, I would say, at least one. And not to mention, even though this thing is only weak to ground, this thing will be able to take care of pretty much, it will be probably a good switch in if you decide to go with like a defensive bulk for a Mega Drapion. It actually is possible, but once again, base 140 for its physical defense, I actually think will be very decent for a Pokemon like Drapion, just because I can see this thing probably living a couple Earthquakes or two. Sorry about that. So anyways, for its special defense, I increased it from base 75 to base 100. Now I wanted to increase its special defense to base 100 just because that, in sense, its special defense is kind of piss poor, so I wanted to give it a good increase to base 100. That way it'll be, I wouldn't say like, I don't want to say it's not going to be too good, but at the same time, it's not like bad at all whatsoever, considering that when it comes to like base 100 special defense, this thing is going to have a little bit natural bulk behind it. So like when it comes to like earth powers, honestly I don't see this thing living at earth power unless it's coming from a Pokemon that really isn't all of, in quote, a special attacker, and it doesn't really do all that much damage, so this thing will be able to eat like earth powers and stuff like that. But once again, like I said, like Drapion is a offensive Pokemon while also having natural bulk behind it, and this thing can be a somewhat of a wall as well. And with base 100 special defense, this thing will be able, I wouldn't say eat up a lot of hits, but it will be better than like base 75 special defense. That way it won't be as piss poor. So I feel like I said, base 100 is actually very decent, because most of the time before people before Mega Evolving, people actually use Drapion with like Assault Vest. Sometimes I actually like ran an Assault Vest Drapion myself, and it actually does put in the work, considering that if you times, I believe 75 times 1.5, it's like, what is it, base 120? Let me check real quick, because I'm actually very curious. So 70 times 1.5, 105. That is my fault. So pretty much it's like having an assault vest on a Mega Drapion when it comes to base 100 special defense, but it's just gonna have 5 points less, if that makes sense. So once again, it has natural bulk behind it, so it can be a physical wall and slash somewhat of a special wall at the same time. Now for its speed, I only increased it just a smidge from base 95 to base 110. Now at first, when I was telling you guys at the beginning, I actually made its physical attack base 125, and I actually had to redo it to make this thing base 130, because I feel like base 130 was a very good stat for a Mega Drapion for its physical attack, because I actually had Drapion's speed being at base 115 at first, and I was like, you know what, I don't think that's a good like base stat for speed for a Mega Drapion, so I decided to lower it to base 110. I feel like base 110 speed is a lot better in my opinion than base 115. I don't honestly see it like getting like faster than base 110 unless you're running agility, but once again, I think base 110 is actually a very good balance speed stat for a Pokemon like Drapion. It's fast as fuck as it is already without the Mega Evolution being at base 95, but with base 110, I feel like it'll be a lot better. This thing will be able to set up a lot quicker, if that makes sense. So it's not like all in loss, all in vain. I feel like I said, base 110 speed is actually a very decent base stat for a Mega Drapion. Now, as a regular Drapion, its base stats at 500, and with the Mega Evolution, it's going to be at 600. Now, for its ability, I actually was kind of like juggling this around a little bit, considering that there was so many abilities that I wanted to give this thing. I wanted to give this thing pretty much battle armor, because this thing literally like won't get any crits against it. So like moves like, I believe it's Circle Throw, don't quote me on that, won't pretty much crit this thing, so that's also very, very good. Or Pokemon that also have Sniper and Focus Energy, like pretty much like Kingdra, will crit this thing as well. So there was a possibility of me giving this thing battle armor, but I was like, you know what, we already have a Pokemon with battle armor already, which is Slowbro. Now I'm not saying I don't want to give like another Pokemon that already give another Pokemon that I'm doing a Mega Evolution ability that's already existing right now. It's just that I want to actually have variety when it comes to abilities, but obviously I gave it Tough Claws, and that really isn't all that a variety, because Mega Charizard X has that ability. But besides like Tough Claws, or should I say battle armor, I also was juggling about giving this thing Intimidate, because look at this thing. If you saw this thing in real life, you would probably shit your pants and probably piss yourself at the same time. Like that this Pokemon's very intimidating. So I was actually contemplating about giving it battle armor and Intimidate, but I was like, you know what? I was gonna give this thing Tough Claws, because look at it. It has 3 claws that this thing can work from, or in a sense 3 arms, because like moves like this thing is a physical attacker, and plus if you don't want to run like Swords Dance on this thing or Hone's Claws, and you want to go up like a full off like Ballistic Fury of moves with like Crunch and Elemental Fangs, it's going to be doing a lot more damage. And if you don't know what Tough Claws does, pretty much moves that this thing contacts with the Pokemon pretty much deal 1.3 more damage than it would have. So for instance, if I used Crunch on a Pokemon that my opponent has with Mega Drapion with Tough Claws, it's going to do 1.3 more damage than it would have. So for instance, if you had the Elemental Fangs, because they're both base 65, if you times 65 times 1.3, it's going to be pretty much a base set at 84.5, or pretty much, if they're going to round it, probably 85 base damage. So Tough Claws really does come in handy with a Pokemon like Drapion. So then that way you don't really, in a sense, have to run Swords Dance, but it really isn't impossible to run a Swords Dance set for this Pokemon. But just keep it in mind that this thing is just going to be doing a fuck ton and massive amount of damage to your opponent, and I believe Tough Claws is an amazing ability for a Pokemon like Drapion. Now for its typing, I left it alone as Poison Dark. There honestly isn't no reason for me to actually change it. Its typing is literally perfect, because it only has one weakness, which is ground, and that is actually amazing. I mean, if I was going to probably change its typing, I probably would have changed it to probably Poison Rock, just because of its design. But like, once again, I feel like, or I wouldn't say I feel like, but I know that Poison Dark is like the best typing for a Pokemon like Drapion. So with all that said, there is Mega Drapion. So anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to comment and subscribe. Now, the next Pokemon we're going to be doing is that we're going to be jumping back to 3rd gen, and I know a lot of you guys are probably wanting me to talk about other Pokemon rather than from 3rd gen or 4th gen and all that, but like I said, there's just a lot of Pokemon out there that I'm going to have to talk about eventually, and like, you guys pretty much have to just wait on, like, if I'm going to talk about your Pokemon or not. But once again, like I said, we're going to be jumping back to 3rd gen because we're going to be talking about Mega Swallow. And in my opinion, Swallow is probably my favorite, okay, my second favorite bird Pokemon out of, like, all the generations. So I'm really excited to actually talk about that Pokemon. So like I said, next week we are going to be talking about Mega Swallow. So with all that said, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Also, don't forget to comment and subscribe. So this is White Boy for the win, and I'll catch you guys later.